The talk begins in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Get on in here. It's your guy, Tommy Gann, but you can call me TG if it makes you feel any better. And this is Tommy Talk, Tommy Talk, Tommy Talk. Another great day to be alive, a great day to be talking to you good people. It feels good. We're getting, you know what? It's feeling like Christmas time finally. It finally snowed here in Colorado. It took long. It took till December to get a snowfall, but it finally snowed. It's feeling like we're simply having a wonderful Christmas time, and I'm happy. I hope all of you had a great Thanksgiving. I had a really great Thanksgiving. Obviously, you guys saw me in the emergency podcast last Friday after the Bears won. A lot to go over that has happened since then. Let's start off with this. Yes, I do need to eat a hat. I need to eat a hat. Now, what kind of hat is it going to be? Will it be some type of edible hat of some type? Possibly. But I do have to eat a hat in some fashion because I promised I would if Lane Kiffin did not stay at Ole Miss. And guess what happened? Lane Kiffin most definitely is no longer the head coach of the University of Mississippi Rebels. He has taken the job at LSU. He's calling Baton Rouge. He's flying to Baton Rouge. He flew to Baton Rouge. And listen, personally, I understand that LSU is a better job, and it is a better job. Don't get that twisted. But I don't know if the step up is big enough to justify throwing away a berth in the college football playoff. I just don't think it is. Because I think this team is really great. They're going to have their chance at a national championship. And you go from Ole Miss where, you know, you are kind of a god to these people. They're going to build a statue to you. You're going to make they're going to, you know, do whatever you want. They never said no to you on anything. You go to LSU where, you know, you're going to be a big deal, but you're never going to be bigger than LSU football to these people. And it's already kind of chaos there. It feels like it's chaos around Baton Rouge all the time. And all the chaos that went into this, I don't know if that's going to end up working out well at LSU. If I were to make a bold prediction, I'd say that I don't think it's going to work out super well, only because it feels like the Lane Kiffin strategy is to kind of have things up in the air and flying around. And at Baton Rouge, you might need a little more clarity. I just don't know if at LSU you can do the kind of stuff he was doing at Ole Miss, or that he has been doing this last few weeks. It just feels like it's going to become a circus at LSU if this coaching carousel thing has been any indication. For Lane Kiffin, it's one of those things where he has tried to cultivate a personality that's likable. A likable personality. He's tried to be liked. Because his past has not been kind to him. He was the wonderkind guy at Oakland with the Raiders. He was anointed. And that went south. And then he went to Tennessee and things were looking okay. Then he hightailed it out of town to USC. And people hated him. He was hated. He goes to USC and underperforms in a serious way. And guess what happens? He's fired on the tarmac. He gets left on the tarmac. That's meme stuff right there. That's stuff of memes. Okay? That's something you used to say on Twitter. Leave him on the tarmac. It came from Lane Kiffin. You know, and then he goes to Alabama and he's offensive coordinator. And then Nick Saban runs him out of town before the national championship game. He goes to FAU and things are pretty good. And then he goes to Ole Miss and he builds up his reputation over time. And he's beloved in Oxford. They put out a 30 for 30 for him earlier this year. The Many Lives of Lane Kiffin, trying to kind of rehabilitate his image. They're like, oh, look, he could have gone to Auburn, but he didn't because he loves Ole Miss and his family too much. And then he hightails it out of town to LSU when they come calling. Just saying. That's all. And then Ole Miss announces that Pete Golding will be their new head coach. He was their defensive coordinator previously. Good on Pete. He's a rising star. And it'll be interesting to see what happens here in the playoff. Apparently, Charlie Weiss Jr., the offensive coordinator, is coming back after leaving with Lane Kiffin. He's been given permission from Lane Kiffin to come back to coach in the college football playoff. That seems crazy, but whatever. We'll see. The other team in the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes for a little while was Florida. Apparently, Florida's athletic director, Scott Strickland, kind of soured things with Lane because he wasn't going to give him the keys to the kingdom completely. He wasn't going to let him run the ship just 100%, and he kind of didn't vibe with him extremely well. Florida hired John Sumrall, the head coach at Tulane, and there was some hesitancy because you're coming off of Billy Napier, Sunbelt Billy, the guy who people say, well, he was not made for the big time. And then you dip back into the well, back to the group of five for a head coach. After people have been saying, well, this time around, you probably want to go get a guy who has done it before. You want to poach somebody from another Power 5 school like Lane Kiffin. Now, having said that, I've heard some very good things about John Sumrall. We'll see what happens. And with the circus that came with Lane Kiffin at LSU, don't get twisted. This is kind of, I think you could argue this is sour grapes because I did want Lane Kiffin really badly. However, it's the circus that went along with bringing Lane Kiffin to LSU does make me feel a little bit better about not getting him. And Sumrall brought in Buster Faulkner as the offensive coordinator from Georgia Tech, and he's been great at Georgia Tech. I think that was a really great hire. I think he is someone who's going to be looking to have an electric offense, which is something I feel like the Gators haven't really had in recent years. So we'll see. We never know with these coaching hires at the end of the day. Lane Kiffin could be amazing. Lane Kiffin could fail miserably. John Sumrall could be amazing. He could fail miserably. It all is a crapshoot. But I don't think it's as bad of a hire as some Florida fans trying to make it out for a while. I feel like they're feeling better after this Faulkner hire. We'll see. And then Billy Napier has now been hired at James Madison, which I feel like is a good fit. It's a little mean to say, oh, Sunbelt Billy back to kind of the G5, and now he's back to, where he's more comfortable. But I think that just might be the case. And he was a very good head coach at Louisiana Lafayette. So it's not that hard to believe he could do the same thing at James Madison, which is a very good G5 program. So good for Billy, good for James Madison. Really great hire, great fit. Now, going up to college, to State College, Pennsylvania. So midway through this season, Penn State said, bye-bye, hasta la bye-bye to James Franklin after he brought him very close to a national championship game. And going into this coaching cycle, it seems like they have gotten rebuffed by a lot of coaches who say to themselves, hey, James Franklin wasn't good enough for these people. And he was pretty dang good over the years. That Kalani Sitake at BYU was lined up. It looked like he was going to take the job. Then BYU came in with the big bucks. The crumble cookie guy came in and said, hey, money, stay. And he stayed. And so now, if you are Penn State, you are searching restlessly. Other teams have already gotten their coaches, and you're still trying to find your guy. Apparently, the word is that they're going to go after Matt Campbell from Iowa State. I don't think Matt Campbell's a terrible coach. Let me put that out there. I don't think he's a bad coach, okay? I don't think he's a bad coach. However, you just dumped James Franklin to bring in Matt Campbell, a guy who is a shooting star in the coaching world a few years back. But now, not exactly a fall from grace, quote unquote, but it's been a bit of a rough. He has not kept the lofty expectations he started to build on himself. Didn't keep that up. So, if you are Penn State, you're going to go after this guy, and it just doesn't seem like it was worthwhile getting rid of Franklin in the first place if Matt Campbell is going to be your guy. He just isn't that great of a head coach. I don't think he's a bad head coach. But when you're Penn State and you're trying to be big time, you would think that you would be aiming for, you would get someone better. I think they definitely thought that. But guess what? You end up with Matt Campbell. Sometimes in life, the grass is always greener is overused as a metaphor. The grass is always greener on the other side. But for Penn State, it seems to be, we're going to go get someone better. And they don't get someone better. The grass isn't always greener. You're getting Matt Campbell. I saw Ben Roethlisberger say that Mike Tomlin should be their next head coach. That would have been interesting. Because I think some people in Pittsburgh thinks that he could be on his way out in the near future because things have kind of stagnated so much there in Pittsburgh. I know some people were yelling that they should bring in John Gruden. Honestly, I don't think that would have been a bad hire, personally. Just saying. But Matt Campbell, if he is your guy, someone could say, they could do worse. Could they? If they did worse, then it would be like hell to pay. It would be like when Tennessee tried to hire Greg Schiano, and it was pitchforks and flames everywhere, and the mob coming after him, and then they're like, no, never mind. I'm just saying. So we'll see how that all works out. If you are Penn State, honestly, I think Brian Hartline would have been a better option. He went to USF. I think he'd be a better option than Matt Campbell, but we'll see. Hey, Penn State, good luck, guys. Good luck. And then one last coaching hire update. Colorado hires Brennan Marion to be the new offensive coordinator. Now, it's been a lot of bad headlines for my University of Colorado Buffaloes. I say, Tommy, didn't you just say your Florida Gators? I went to 2 schools, 2 degrees, no big deal. No big deal. Colorado, it's been a bad time. It's been bad times, okay? I think Juju Lewis could be a good quarterback going forward. However, I think the vibes have gotten historically low with Colorado, especially after that Iowa State game against Matt Campbell where they won. After that, the season took a nosedive. There were so many close games they played this season, early on in the season, where it felt like they were right there on the precipice and they did not get there. But then the later half of the season, it just completely imploded. Bringing in Brennan Marion is a huge step because at Sacramento State, he had the top recruiting class in FCS, and he's well known for being kind of an offensive wonderkind with his go-go offense. We'll see how that works with Juju, if he works in that offense or not. However, it is a good sign. It will bring in guys from the portal. It could help in the future if he sticks with Colorado for a couple years, bringing in some offensive talent in the recruiting trail. We'll see. But I think it's a big bump that Colorado needed after what has been really kind of a disastrous time overall since mid-October. Finally in college football, so the playoff is coming soon. We're right there. We're this close. A couple teams on the bubble. And 2 of those teams are Notre Dame and Miami. It looks like it could be either or. Miami did not make the ACC championship game. Notre Dame obviously isn't going to play another game. Now, it's probably going to be between these 2 teams. Now, you might say to Tommy, hey, they played each other. First game of the season. And hey, they are both 10-2. So why would you not pick Miami? They won, didn't they? They beat Notre Dame. Yes, they did. And that's where it gets me into a conundrum here. Because you have to weigh these options. Miami beat Notre Dame, but going down later on in the season, they lose to Louisville, who's a good team, and then SMU, who's a good team. Okay? They lose those 2 games later on in the season. Notre Dame, they lose the first 2 games against Miami and then a really great Texas A&M team, both of them being extremely close. Miami, they lose by 3. Texas A&M, they lose by 1. It makes it very difficult because I am the ultimate head-to-head guy. Hey, you played each other head-to-head. So you pick the team that won head-to-head. Head-to-head. If only out of respect for the head-to-head matchup, I would say Miami should be in over Notre Dame. However, I can understand why someone could look at Notre Dame and say, hey, they lost the very first 2 games of the season versus 2 really good teams. And then they've just, kicked the ever-living, duty out of every single team after that. So you could say, well, why not Notre Dame? Because they've been stronger as of late. While Miami has had 2 back-breaking losses during this season against SMU and Louisville. So I'm not going to get on my high horse and get angry if Notre Dame gets in over Miami because of that. However, I will say I do not like University of Miami, but I will say I have to stick with my principles. My principles say Miami should be in because they won the head-to-head. I'll just say that. And they're the same record. So I think that is fair to say. That's fair to say. Hey, Miami, I will give you that. I will give you that. Finally, it is time for war. 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 Bears, Packers, this Sunday, Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. I never look forward to this game. Truly, honestly. I never do. Never. There was a movie from the 90s starring Bill Murray. You may have heard of him. Famous guy. Was on SNL. And it's called Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day. And this is a great movie. Truly, a great movie. It's on the National Film Registry. Great movie. Such a great movie that it's even become part of the lexicon. It's a Groundhog Day type thing. And in the movie, Bill Murray, playing weatherman Phil Connors, keeps reliving the same day over and over and over and over and over again in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. And for me as a Bears fan, that's what Bears-Packers has been for much of my life, has been Groundhog Day. Over and 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 over again. I get excited. The Bears play the Packers, and usually it comes down to the end and the Bears lose in some backbreaking fashion. A couple times they get just the brakes beaten off of them, but for the most part, it's just a backbreaking loss. And Packers fans get all high and mighty, and they get very, very confident and cocky about this stuff. And I can understand that. When you've been watching, you beat your top rival for your entire life, I get that. And it is the Packers' top rival, by the way. Never, ever, ever let some Vikings or Lions fans say, oh, well, in recent times, we've been better against the Packers. Doesn't matter. No. This is history. This is blood feuds. Blood feuds. There is no rivalry in the National Football League like Bears-Packers. This is the closest thing the NFL has to a college rivalry. It breaks families apart. It is war. And this Sunday is going to be war. Now, obviously, the Bears had a gigantic win against the Eagles last week. Gigantic. However, this is a whole new ball game. Jordan Love is playing pretty well. You can't deny that. He looked amazing on Thanksgiving. Caleb Williams played okay. He didn't have an amazing game after Thanksgiving. I believe the Packers right now are 6.5-point favorites against the Bears, which seems a little bit long, not going to lie. what this game is going to come down to is, can the Bears make turnovers, number one? Can they run the ball, number two? And can Caleb Williams get things moving in the passing game? What could help them is that the Packers might sell out to stop the run, and that could really help Caleb Williams in the passing game. We'll see. The weather's not supposed to be amazing. That is not great. We'll find out on that one. What also could make a difference is this where Jordan Love has his stinker? What do I mean by that? Jordan Love is the master at having a couple of games where you think, oh man, he's a world beater. He's awesome. He could be an MVP candidate. He has a couple games like that, brings up your evaluation of him like that. And then he drops a real stinker on you. A real stinker. And it looks bad. Now, he is due for the stinker now. This is a stinker spot for Jordan Love. There's no question about that. But I truly believe this will be a war on Sunday. It'll be a hard-fought battle on both sides, which does give me a little bit of confidence, only because everything I hear from Packers fans, I feel like they are still very cocky. Very cocky. They're like, oh, you beat the Eagles? You won all these one-score games? Pfft, we'll beat the brakes off of you. Well, first of all, this is the National Football League. Of course you're going to win a lot of one-score games. There's a reason why if you're a 7-point favorite, that's a pretty heavy favorite in this league. Well, in college football, that's not really that heavy of a favorite. There's a reason for that. Because these teams are relatively, even though, you know, the very best team, the very worst team are pretty big separation. For the most part, good teams and bad teams will play close games because guess what? The talent level isn't that crazy different. So that's one thing. Another thing is the Bears are currently, Caleb Williams, fun fact, 1-0 at Lambeau Field. 1-0. Does he make it 2-0 on Sunday? Please, I hope so. Oh, man, I hope so. Gosh, I hope so. I'm going to be sick watching this game. It's going to be painful. Painful. Not even because I think the Bears are necessarily going to lose. I think the Bears have a good shot in this game. But just because I've watched this so many times, and when Micah Parsons sacks Caleb Williams, which he will do at some point during this game, I have no doubt about that, I will feel just a hole open up in the pit of my stomach and just feel like garbage. Garbage. But, you know what? For the sake of my Chicago Bears, I will predict a Bears victory. Not getting cocky, not getting crazy. Just because I love my Chicago Bears, I will predict a Bears victory. If the Bears win on Sunday, I feel like Bears fans are going to be just over the moon incredible, and it's going to be just chaos overall. Bears are the 1 seed right now. The Bears are going to play the Packers 2 out of the next 3 weeks. If either team sweeps those games, they probably win the North. And if they, take one from, each, then it's going to be a heck of a finish there at the end. We'll see. All right. Well, thank you all for watching. Please subscribe. Follow me on social media at Tommy SGAHAN. Tommy S. Gahan. I'm going to be nervous all weekend. Packer fans, do not come at me at all about this kind of stuff for saying the Bears are going to win. I'm just backing my guys, okay? And for the Packers, listen, you get cocky, and then one day you get beat. Early this year when the Bears beat the Packers, I was over the moon. Personally, this year has been pretty good for me overall, professionally, personally. Some good things have happened for me this year. And I'm not going to lie and say when the Bears beat the Packers to start this year, that was a good omen for me. It was a good omen. Some might say, Tommy, you're being ridiculous. Packers fans will say, well, that game meant nothing. I don't care. It was good. So the Bears are on a winning, they've beaten the Packers this year. Can they make it 2-0 against the Packers this year? And maybe 3-0 against the Packers this year? We'll find out soon enough. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. My name is Tommy Gahan, TG, and this has been Tommy Talk. Love you guys. See ya soon. Yes. Bye-bye.